I'm doing this next awardee because this is a particularly special one for me. The first week I got this job, I had asked people for money before, but always in little bitty amounts in my little bitty previous roles. But I recognized what I had signed up for when I got this job. So the first week I'm still trying to figure out where to put my bags and so forth. And the very first call I went out on was over to Carolina Inn with our next recipient. And I didn't know exactly what I was supposed to do the first time you go out with somebody, so I decided I'd ask her for a whole bunch of money. I mean, I'd start there. If that went badly, I'd ask for a smaller amount of money. And she went, "Oh my God, I had no idea this is what we were meeting about." I didn't know how to react to that, but she wrote me a very nice check. So Vanessa Wittman has been my best friend ever since. Now, I have some bad news, and that is that Vanessa's not here tonight. Unfortunately, she couldn't join us. But her absence, and this is all getting taped, so hi, Vanessa. Her absence is going to provide me a perfect opportunity to do what she probably wouldn't allow me to do because she'd be throwing something at me soon, and that is to overload her with praise. Because she absolutely hates being in the spotlight, and it took all I could do to twist her arm to allow this to happen. She is one of the most humble people I know, and she does not want anyone to know the good deeds she does. With her credentials, she could be completely full of herself, but she is the exact opposite. She's one of our 1989 undergraduates. She got her MBA from Darden, and then she went on, has made quite a mark in the business world, and particularly so in Silicon Valley, which is not a place that is known for being the most female-friendly environment in the world. But then Vanessa is a very special person. Before stepping down to be a personal investor, she was the senior vice president and CFO of Dropbox, recruited for her stellar pedigree to prepare the data sharing company for an IPO. According to its founder and CEO, Drew Houston, Vanessa's leadership changed how our finance team partners with and drives our business. She also told me that she kind of toned down the amount of time that they spent playing guitars around the board meetings. She also helped the startup become more efficient and notably free cash flow positive. Vanessa had come to Dropbox from Motorola Mobility, a Google company where she was senior vice president and CFO. Her Fortune 500 experience also included stints at Marsh & McLellan and Adelphia Communications, where she helped that company clean up its financial mess. In an article in CFO.com, she referred to that company, which involved some sell-offs, as an extreme finance experience. As impressive as her career has been, her close friends say the thing they admire most about Vanessa is her ability to balance family life with a high-powered career, and I can attest to that. I've spent time at her house. Vanessa and her husband, Drew, who met here playing varsity tennis as undergraduates, have 3 children. Her 2 oldest boys are currently undergraduates here at Carolina, and I know her big dream is that her youngest little girl ends up at Tar Heel as well. Her very close friend, Bill Starling, who was here during the cocktail party time, has said she puts her children above all else in life and is a wonderful mother and wife. How she accomplishes all that in 24 hours is completely beyond any comprehension, and I would second that. Another friend of hers, Jeff Hoffman, who she went through school here together and is the senior managing director at Guggenheim Partners, said, "I don't know when she even sleeps." He said that they used to spend a lot of time in Colorado, and she would always fly back to New York on the red eye late on Sunday night, simply so she could spend as much time as possible with her kids. He tells a story about they were once on a on the lift, skiing out in Colorado, when her cell phone rang, and he says this was during the tech bubble, and she was in the process of buying a .com, but the deal was collapsing, and her associate said, "The CEO says he's not going to agree unless he gets a consulting agreement." Vanessa said, "Walk in there and tell him that if you let a company drop from $1 billion in value down to $50 million, you don't deserve a bleeping severance pay." That sounds very Vanessa-like. He says she then hung up the phone and said, "Now, which slope are we going down?" But she's done all those things, but I can tell you there's some of the things she's done for us, and I know there's some people on our board of advisors here in the room who can attest to this as well, is she has made some major improvements for our boards. Early in my tenure, I asked her about her experience at Darden because I knew she had been on Darden's boards. And I said, you know, what do they do different at Darden? And soon I said, could we have the Darden playbook? Because we're just going to adopt what they've been doing. And we have learned a lot from Vanessa about how to become more active. Bill Starling said she's transitioned us from a board of visitors to a board of advisors by convincing us membership should be more than just showing up twice a year to be talked to, watch a Carolina game, and go home. Our board is now making a real impact in the current capital campaign as well as in other parts of the business school. We're lucky to have such an engaged, thoughtful, and productive leader as Vanessa here at the school. With our recently launched capital campaign, Vanessa's been a tremendous asset in helping us with initial gifts. She's personally reached out to a lot of friends and associates. She was here for the kickoff last month. She says the tools she learned at Kenan-Flagler are the tools she still uses today. So she's tenacious about keeping Kenan-Flagler top flight. A couple of years ago, she challenged the graduating class to make gifts to the class campaign by pledging a generous $10,000 if the class would hit the 90% participation mark. And the full-time MBA program came in at 93% that year. This last spring, she gave a talk to the campus at large on the topic of getting comfortable with being uncomfortable, which made quite an impression on those who attended, one of whom was my own daughter. It's fair to say Vanessa makes an impression wherever she goes. And though she can be tough as nails, she is incredibly generous. Ann and I enjoyed dining with her and Drew, who's a gourmet chef, in Palo Alto a few months ago. They host a lot of events about Carolina sports, and all of her friends always talk about how wonderful it is, the entertaining that goes on at her houses. You do not leave unless you are well fed and hydrated when you go away from there. So in every aspect of life, she's doing for others, and there is no one more deserving of a Kenan-Flagler Alumni Merit Award than Vanessa Wittman. Now, if you'll just imagine that I weigh one half the amount I actually do, and that I'm about that tall, I will certainly become Vanessa, because she sent along her comments, and I will read them here. She writes, "First, my apologies for not being there in person, but I appreciate Doug's persistence in proceeding on without me. Next, congratulations to all of the other award winners tonight. As much as I'm sorry to not be in the room with you, I am certainly happy to not compete with such an illustrious group for witty comments. I realize that the only reason you may remember any of my comments is that a better speaker is delivering them. Last but not least, my sincere thoughts for even being concluded tonight. As I've said to many people, I've been married for 27 years, have 3 children, and have chosen a career as a CFO. So very few people have said nice things to me over the years. Nonetheless, honored me in such an extraordinary way. And it is an extraordinary opportunity and honor, and I'd like to take Doug's invitation to say a few words. First, the disclaimers. My husband and I are both Kenan-Flagler's alums. My 2 sons are students at the school, and many of my closest friends are graduates of the program and the university. I love Carolina. I have loved this place since I first stepped foot on the campus in 1984 on a tennis recruiting trip my junior year of high school. What I learned in my 4 years at Carolina became the foundation for a career that moved me through a dozen companies across 4 states and 3 countries. I've rung IPO bells, signed multinational bankruptcy papers. I hope that was not related to the IPO bells. Been threatened by thugs and the media, hired and fired hundreds of people, and gone from a hero to a goat and back to a hero. And that was just at one company. I'm grateful for all the starts I've made, even those that didn't seem to make any sense to the casual observer. And none of any of that would have been possible without Kenan-Flagler. At Kenan-Flagler, I learned to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. I arrived at UNC in 1985, a northerner walking into the heart of the South. You guys always felt more comfortable than y'all. Conforming didn't really work for me, but debating really did. Before leaning in was a thing, I was stepping outside of my comfort zone, that is. I didn't realize it at first, but I thrived when I was challenged, sometimes beyond my capacities, and it didn't always end well. But every time I tried something, I was more prepared than the prior time. Kenan-Flagler taught me to thrive outside my comfort zone and taught me how to be prepared for the discomfort zone, where learning is sharper and the consequences are steeper. At Carolina, I learned to think critically and to care deeply and to remember that a sense of humor never goes out of style. I learned that success is sweeter after failure and that you just might think you've perfected failure before your luck changes. Persistence is omnipotent. So thank you, everyone, for your persistence, and thank you, Kenan-Flagler, for honing mine.